Hey friends, it's Bridget. I've got about an hour before I have to get ready and leave home, so I thought this would be the perfect time to set a timer for 20 minutes and do a little journaling. If you'd like to grab some of your own supplies and join in, that would be awesome. So I just laid down the cover page for November, and I'm going to lay some watercolor down here, and while that's drying, I'm going to work on November 1st. I'm going to try to stay as current as possible this month. I am behind, so once I get these current pages done, I'll just continue working backward into October, and I think there's even still a handful of September pages that I'm not completely done with yet. It reminds me of this funny sign that my aunt used to have hanging up in her office at work. It said, why can't I get a little ahead instead of a bigger behind? And that's where I am. So if you're behind too, don't fret. It's comforting sometimes when I see other creators sharing their journaling sessions and they admit that they're behind as well. So we can definitely catch up. Sometimes I just enjoy doing what I've called batch journaling in the past and doing several pages at one time, so I try not to let it bother me too much. Now, when I pasted down this cover page for November, I did not use a ruler or any kind of bone folder, so there's a little air in the back of this page, but what you gonna do? As Gloria Gaynor said, I will survive. Let me just get that watercolor out of the way. So the color palette that I used in my Patreon printables for November came from this watercolor palette that I just used. This is the inspiration. It's called Decadent Pies by Prima. And I pulled a handful of Tombow markers from my collection that kind of coordinate with that color palette. So for the past handful of months, I've been making just quick, messy borders around my pages with my Posca paint markers, but I think I'm gonna use the Tombows for a good bit of the pages in November. And this is messy, but normally I would turn my book and I'm gonna stand up here and physically move to try to get in a better position to make this straight, but I'm trying to stay in frame on camera here. And I usually end up layering enough stuff on my pages that if something's not perfectly neat, I've learned to just let it go and not let it bother me. So this is going to be November the 1st. And I like using this old big stencil. I'm pretty sure I purchased it on Amazon years ago. I'm going to use the blue ink in my Hobonichi multi-pen to outline this and just kind of fill it in with scribbles. I was journaling late last night in bed while I was watching a Netflix series, and the black ink of my multi-pen had already run out. I was shocked that it ran out so quickly, but I've been using it on a daily basis and doing at least a few, full pages of writing every day. So I guess that's what happens when you use the one pen. And fortunately, I already had a couple refills that I had added to a previous Hobonichi order, so I was able to refill it last night already. But I did hop on Amazon and order another 5-pack. I just like the reassurance of knowing that I've got extra ink available in case it runs out again. So for this month, similar to previous months, I'll be using not only my own printables from Patreon, but those from Courtney with Little Raven Ink once she releases hers, usually within the next few days. I'll be adding whatever real life ephemera I can collect throughout the month, as well as some printed photos, and then just whatever art supplies from my current stash I decide to revisit this month. Does that fit? Oh, what do you know? There we go. What did I do with my glue page? I've got a huge stack of paper over here that I'm using for a glue base. I've been trying to do some organization here in my office recently, and I had all of these printouts that I had made over the past couple years for homeschool that we ended up not using, and I initially was just going to throw them in the trash, but I'm glad I had the wherewithal to think those would make good just base pages for glue, you know, get a little use out of them and then trash them. So this is almost dry on this side. Now I've been hand lettering my days of the week for the longest time, and this is kind of funny because I could just grab a marker and do it right now, but I included some of these, and this is a test sheet, so I feel like I need to use them. So let's see, today is Thursday, November 2nd, so yesterday was Wednesday. So I'll at least use up this full sheet of printables, and then for the rest of the month I'll just hand letter it directly with a Tombow pen or brush pen, brush marker, whatever you call it. It is cold here for the first time in a while, and I've been enjoying it, enjoying the weather. We're leaving in a little while to go to my son's last cross-country practice of the season. And then this weekend we'll have his state cross-country meet. So we'll have to go out of town for that. And it is going to be very cold that morning when he has to run. So I've already been kind of prepping him and talking to him and telling him that he really needs to wear some type of layer under his shorts that morning, so he's not just miserable out there. But he's 15. He'll actually be 16 later this month. He's one of our November birthdays. So if you have a teenager, particularly a teenage boy, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. They want to wear shorts when it's 31 degrees outside, and when it's 111 they want to wear their hoodies. So, their reasoning with their clothing choices is a little beyond me. But I've just decided at this point it's not a battle to pick and not a hill that I'm going to die on, but hopefully he'll make a reasonable choice and wear a layer under his shorts this weekend. It'll be nice to have Saturday mornings back when that season is over. He enjoys it, so therefore I enjoy it, but he has practice not only a couple evenings during the week, but also every Saturday morning early. So it'll be nice to have our Saturday mornings free as we're going into the busy holiday season. So what went on yesterday? We went to co-op, which I'll just hand letter with the Tombow. And then I'll go back after that dries and outline it with my Hobonichi pen. And I've got some scraps from another project I was working on, so I'm going to use these for some layering. These came from an old French book from the 1800s. So pretty cool. Oop. And you can see how brittle the paper actually is. I pressed a little too hard and some of it came off in the glue. So you have to be cognizant of that when you're using this old paper in your projects. If it's going to be something that you frequently handle or like have to turn the page or bend the page, then it's usually not the best option, because when the paper is so old like this, it tends to be real brittle and break easily. I feel like I should layer some washi or something there to reinforce, or that's gonna likely break off. Just put one little piece of this. This is some old, I mean several years old, Tim Holtz washi with a vintage vibe, and it still works very well. Okay. And then, let's see. I'll do a little journaling square here. And then, since this is basically dry, I think I'll go ahead and flip back to an older page for these last few minutes. I literally just grabbed all my stuff, spread it out, and turned on the camera, so I haven't really thought about the composition of any of these November pages. And sometimes it takes me a minute to just think about what I want to lay down and what I want to say in terms of my text journaling that I handwrite with my pen, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing that in this video since our time is limited here. But at least I'll have a good setup going. And I've got a Superior Labor tote that I have pretty well stocked with kind of a to-go journaling kit, journaling supplies. And so I've been grabbing that bag and taking it with me on the evenings that we do go to cross-country practice, like tonight. And when my son is out there practicing for an hour and a half, I'll sit in my vehicle and just journal like this right there on the console. So it makes the time fly for sure, and usually helps me get caught up. Okay, so I have a few photos left that I had printed, and the last time I printed, I made a little notation of the date that they go on just to help me, instead of what I was previously doing before. When I would print a montage of photos, I would have to go back through the photo app in my phone and click on each photo and look at the information to see what date it was actually taken on. And while that works, it's, just a little kind of a clunky process, a little time consuming. So I think this hack has worked out well. I printed a full page of pictures. So this was from 1013. So let's go back to 1013. Okay. And I'm leaving some space here because I decided to jump back into the Hobonichi challenge. In October, it had been quite some time since I had participated, and I've really enjoyed doing that in the past. I actually looked on Instagram earlier today to see if the prompts were out for November, and they are. So I took a screenshot of them, and I'm going to try to participate in November as well. I wasn't familiar with a lot of the prompts, but I think they are all like different, whatever you call it, varieties, species, I'm not sure, but it's like a mushroom theme, I think, for November. So that'll be fun. I'm probably gonna do the same thing I did in October, and what I'll do is I'll go ahead and put the prompt on my page, and then if it's something I'm not familiar with, I like going to either Google or Wikipedia and searching whatever it is, and then just writing a blurb just to learn about it. And then somewhere under the writing or near the writing, I'll do a little sketch of whatever it is. And I also rely heavily on Google Images to get, inspiration pics or photographs or ideas, because sometimes I just literally don't know what the thing is, and that'll surely be the case with these different mushrooms. I'll have to look up the pictures and see what they look like so I know how to draw them. If y'all know of any other challenges that I could participate in online within this journaling planner community, I'd really appreciate it if you drop them below in the comments. The only ones that I've consistently participated in the past are the Hobonichi challenge for primarily sketching, and then there's another one that I used to do a long time ago. I thought about revisiting in November. It's more for handwriting though, and the hashtag on Instagram is Rock Your Handwriting, and they give like a daily prompt for you to handwrite. So this is from October the 12th. This was a Thursday, and while my son was practicing cross country that evening, I went down the street to a boba tea place. Got a little brown sugar milk tea, I believe is what it's called. I think that's like the most basic one you can get, but I don't know enough about all the different flavors now to be adventurous yet. So I've only had this a couple times now, but I've enjoyed it both times. This time was almost a little too sweet for me, and I have a sweet tooth, but it was pretty sweet. It was a lot sweeter than the first time I had it, but it was a different location. So I went from never having boba tea or even knowing where to get it to realizing recently that we actually have 2 local locations where I can try it. So it feels like I'm just getting started, but my timer just went off. Time flies when you're having fun. So that's 20 minutes. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to hop off now, and I will see y'all in the next video. Bye, y'all. Happy journaling.